Welcome to a very special episode of Raised by Giants history of the Stargate Project. I thought that this is a very important thing to do to give you guys a very detailed research from unclassified documents that I have in my possession and that I have read, because recently I've seen a lot of people claim to be a part of this Stargate program that haven't been a part of the program and nowhere even close to the program. But before we get into all of that, welcome everyone in the chat, members and moderators out there. I hope everyone is well, and any new members, welcome. Thanks for signing up to be a Ryder Ranger member. A members only video will be dropping tomorrow, Friday, January 12th. And the only way that you can get that video is if you are a Ryder Ranger member or a Rokfin premium subscriber. So sign up to be a Ryder Ranger member today and help to support the show monthly and get 2 bonus episodes a week as a treat for your support. So as you guys know, anyone that's followed the show knows that I've interviewed and spoken with several verified official personnel that were in the Stargate Project, which was the DIA Army Intelligence Psychic Spy Program that started in 1978. But it wasn't called the Stargate Project. It was called Gondola Wish. And see, none of those wannabe people that claim to be a part of this program can even tell you what the original name of the program was. That should be a red flag. But we're going to get into all that here a little later on. But I've had Dr. David Morehouse on, Angela Ford, Dr. Paul Smith, Lynn Buchanan, and the director of the Stargate Project who coined the term Stargate, Dale Graff, all verified in the Stargate Project unit. And you can look into each one of their backgrounds and see that they were all in the unit, which I'm going to bring up a list of the people that were in the unit here soon. And only 20 people were ever involved with this unit. So it's quite literally impossible for these people that claim to be a part of this program on the internet to actually have been a part of this program. Now, what we're going to get into today may not seem like it's important to you, but to me, it's very important to understand how this Army intelligence psychic spy program came to be in the history of the name changes, the funding apparatuses. I've talked about this on other people's shows, Tinfoil Hat, Microaggressions, Leak Project. So in order to be a part of the Stargate remote viewing psychic spy unit at Fort Meade, you would have to have a military record of your involvement, because it was a military program. So not only are these people that are claiming to be a part of this program making stuff up, they're also committing a crime of stolen valor, claiming that things that can absolutely be verified that they were never a part of, pretending to be in the military. That's the first misstep of these people. A lot of them don't understand that this was a military program. And I'm going to play a clip from the Stargate Roundtable with Dale Graff, Angela Ford, and Lynn Buchanan.
There are a lot of people claiming to have been in the unit that were never in the unit and never had anything to do with it.
Where do you think that confusion comes from, though? Do you think that they're actively lying, or do you think that they were possibly a part of something similar, like the Gateway process with Robert Monroe, and they're getting it confused? Or what do you think's going on there? Are they actively lying, or are they making it up, or were they a part of something similar?
The ones I've seen are actively lying, yeah. But
they're generating a concept which they think will get a lot of attention.
There it is. How's it going, everyone in the chat? Good to see you, Sandra, Candace, Juster, Sam. How's it going, brother? Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. So to go along, so everything that I'm going to talk about from this point forward can be verified in this Defense Intelligence Agency Sunstreak unclassified briefing document that I've read several times and reread to prepare for this show. And I'm going to bring that up here so that you guys can see that I'm not just making things up. So here is the Defense Intelligence Agency Project Sunstreak briefing document that was released August 8th of 2000. And the beginning paragraph says, "Good morning and afternoon. I would like to present a brief overview of the project Sunstreak, giving a few points of its historical background, definitions of its basic words, and examinations of what is accomplished by our project. This briefing and the information it contains is classified, secret, special access information." So everything that I'm going to be talking about came from that document, and also along with the declassified syndicate document from 1973, which we'll be getting into here soon. So pretty much all of the military services have at one time or another been involved in psychoenergetics, and most of them being applications oriented, meaning that they found a use for it. Now, that doesn't mean that they all ran their own psychic spy programs. They did not. But what I mean by they were involved is they would give tasking to Army intelligence and DIA. Doesn't mean that they all had their separate programs. So where all this starts is with SRI, Stanford Research Institute, but the government was also doing studies on parapsychology with Duke University in the 30s, Parapsychology Foundation in New York in the 50s, Mind Science Foundation in the 60s, and other research foundations and centers earlier than SRI. But the thing that kicked it off was SRI in the early 70s. So a little background on SRI because this is important. SRI's first research project investigated whether a plant could be used as a source of natural rubber from 1942 to 1946, and the funding was then cut by Congress after World War II ended. SRI's first economic study was for the United States Air Force, which is very important there in 1947. The Air Force wanted to determine the expansion potential of the U.S. aircraft industry. SRI found that it would take too long to escalate production in an emergency. So in 1948, SRI began a research and consultation with Chevron Corporation to develop an artificial substitute for coconut oil in soap production. So the reason for mentioning all this is to establish that SRI is a government contractor, and most government contractors are normally a front for the intelligence community. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And it's also establishing that SRI worked for the Air Force prior, which is very important when we get into things later on. So SRI formally separated from Stanford University in 1970, but didn't become known as SRI International until 1977. But in 1972, the U.S. Army Surgeon General, through the Medical Intelligence Information Agency, together with the DIA, published studies of Soviet bloc work in psychoenergetics. Also in that same year, SRI, Stanford Research Institute, started their research on psychoenergetics. In 1972, with Howell Puthoff and Russell Targ, they did a series of investigations of psychic phenomena sponsored and funded by the CIA, and had consciousness researchers Ingo Swann and Pat Price. This started a research project known as Syndicate in 1973. Syndicate was a SRI project to determine if remote viewing psychoenergetic phenomenon was real. Because if this was possible, that the subjects at SRI could be using psychic powers to collect information, could they subliminally be getting that information on a target or somehow getting it from memory? So they started running a bunch of tests, and during the testing, Ingo Swann was giving a coordinate, and he described some sort of military base in the woods. The coordinates was then given to a gentleman, a businessman that was just referred to as Pat in the official documents, but we know his name now as Pat Price. So when Pat Price got the coordinates to verify Ingo Swann's remote viewing of the suspected military base, he described the same thing, but in way larger detail. He had wind speed, altitude, surrounding area, and that it was a underground base in West Virginia. So Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ asked him to view this location again and see if he could get inside and look for documents to try and obtain code word information with his psychic abilities. And he did. He saw on the top of the desk papers labeled Fly Trap, Mine Run, a file cabinet on the north wall labeled Operation Pool, folders on the inside of the cabinet labeled Cue Ball, 14 ball, 4 ball, 8 ball, rack up, and so on. And he said that the site vaguely seemed named like Hay Fork or Haystack, and even got the names of the generals of the facility. Some of their name here. I'm actually going to pull it up here. Hold on. Present. Hold on, I got to get rid of this. Share screen window. Syndicate. Okay. Here's the syndicate document from SRI in 1973. We scroll down here a little bit. This is the drawing that Ingo Swann first did that I was just mentioning. See, it's kind of doesn't have a lot of details on it. So then Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ gave that same coordinate to Pat Price, and this is what he came up with. Very detailed, and it goes into, if you read this document, it goes into wind speeds, altitude, the clouds. He's talking about the clouds are above 25,000 to 30,000 feet, clear area between the level of some statue at 40,000. It's insane. And then if you get down here, here's what he saw whenever they gave him the coordinates again. He said on a later date, Pat was asked to return to the Virginia site with the goal of obtaining I can't read that word, information if possible in response to Pat in this following information. So the top of the desk had papers labeled Fly Trap, Mine Run, the file cabinet on the north wall, Operation Pool. The second word is unattainable. The folders in the cabinet labeled Cue Ball, 14 ball, 4 ball, 8 ball, rack up. Name of the site vaguely seemed like Hay Fork or Haystack. Colonel, the names of the personnel of the facility were Colonel R.J. Hamlin, Major General George R. Nash, Major John C. Calhoun, I think. So, yeah, that's from the official syndicate document. Now, what happened here was this really got the intelligence and the military community interested in this phenomenon. I think it personally scared the crap out of them, I believe, because if someone can get access to a military installation and get classified information, then could our enemies do the exact same thing? So in 1976, the Missile Intelligence Agency informally expressed interest in the U.S. Replication of claimed Soviet experiments in psychoenergetics, because this is another supposed way they got the intelligence community got involved, was that they received intel that the Soviets were doing this research. So they had to kind of play catch up. But I can't find any official document supporting that Russia was using psychics and remote viewers as an intelligence data collection. Now, I do have a Russian document of the study of remote viewing, but nothing claiming that the Soviets were using remote viewers to collect intelligence data. But anyway, SRI developed a small program for the Missile Intelligence Agency, and they awarded SRI a 1-year research and development contract. So during that same time, the Army Material Systems Analysis Agency was involved in the investigation of remote viewing concepts with SRI. Also in 1977, the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command established a project team under the Assistant Deputy Chief of the Staff for Human Intelligence and implemented the Gondola Wish program in Fort Meade, Maryland. So by 1978, the Army intelligence concluded that there was sufficient evidence to warrant the program to explore intelligence collection of psychoenergetics. The Army then canceled the Gondola Wish program and placed a complete security envelope over the Army's interest in psychoenergetics, and then implemented a new program directed toward intelligence collection using remote viewing, and that project was called Grill Flame. And that project was to use remote viewing as a data collection or intelligence collection method. So by 1978, INSCOM, which is the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command, so at this point, they had all the personnel that they had wanted in this program, and training was initiated. And who trained those Army personnel? That would be Ingo Swann from SRI, because they had a contract with Ingo Swann. He was training the Army personnel on how to remote view. Now, again, this isn't confirmed by any documentation, but everyone that I've spoken to that was in this unit said Ingo Swann was training personnel. Now, Army Intel did have a contract with SRI, and Ingo was a test subject for SRI, and all the remote viewers from the unit that I've talked to said that they were trained by Ingo, but at the same time seeing that SRI and Ingo Swann never walked through the doors at Fort Meade. So the people in the unit must have went to SRI to get trained by Ingo Swann. I'm going to verify that this Saturday with Dr. David Morehouse. So now the issue that Army intelligence ran into was, would the information obtained from remote viewing psychics be reasonable and accurate? And if so, would it be accepted and used by the intelligence community? So on September 4th, 1979, Army ACSI tasked INSCOM to locate a missing Navy aircraft. This was the first Grill Flame operational remote viewing session, and the remote viewer located the missing aircraft within 15 miles of where it was downed. And based on those results, Army INSCOM was tasked to work on additional targets. This forced the hand of ACSI to head into full swing operations and skip over a lot of the training phases of the unit from Ingo Swann. This is all, again, coming directly out of the DIA unclassified documents. Now, this correlates with what President Jimmy Carter was saying in '95, and I'm going to play that clip that I made from him talking about that right now.
The only strange and inexplicable event that has been discussed publicly is that one time we had a small plane go down somewhere in Africa. We needed very much to find out where that plane had crashed, and we were not able to find it by surveillance from our satellites. So the director of the CIA, he was also director of all the intelligence agencies, heard about a woman in California that was a medium, and he contacted her, and she gave him the latitude and longitude of the plane's whereabouts. And the next time one of our space satellites went over that area, we located the plane where she said it was.
That was President Jimmy Carter talking about the remote viewers finding a plane. Now, he supposedly talked about it earlier than '95, but the only audio clip that I could find of him talking about it was from '95. Matthew, brother, coming through on the come through, gifted 5 Raised by Giants memberships. Thank you so much for your support of the show, Matthew, and giving people the opportunity to see the premium content. 2 video episodes a week for premium members. Got Gesture in there. Good to see you. Is now a member. Rhonda is now a member. Dr. Hugh is now a member. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys and your support of the show. So Jimmy Carter was half right about what he said. It wasn't a lady in California. That was misdirection. It was actually Dale Graff's small remote viewing unit activity at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Specifically, an Air Force enlisted woman named Rosemary Smith, and also with assistance from Gary Langford at SRI helped as well. But the overall story is true, but not how Jimmy Carter tells it. How's it going, Chloe? Good to see you, my dear. Thanks for being a member. Ryder Ranger members, together, activate. So then comes along this memorandum, which is called the Perry Memorandum in 1980, which cut funding for psychoenergetic activity that didn't include intelligence application efforts. So in 1981, a few months later, ACSI transferred Project Grill Flame Management to INSCOM, which is the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command. They combined efforts, and this wasn't the only time the units have been transferred or combined. The DIA and the Army ACSI signed a joint Grill Flame agreement to implement a 3-year program. So the DIA's role in this joint operation was threat analysis, countermeasures, use established psychics primarily through SRI contracts because they've been working with SRI since '78. The U.S. Army's role, INSCOM role, was to apply the remote viewing program, use the assigned personnel and contracts to enhance capability. So remember how I said in the beginning of this that all of the intelligence community and the military had their hands in this, but it had to do with tasking. This merging of the DIA and Army into one program also, when these two groups formalized cooperations, they also merged the Secretary of the Army, Army General Counsel, Assistant Surgeon General for Medical R&D, Vice Chief of the Staff of the Navy, NSA, CIA, and the Navy. Until 1982, when the Budget Subcommittee cut the funding to Grill Flame because they thought that the project had been double budgeted. One funding coming from Army Intelligence, another coming from DIA, when they were just both working on it together. But they let DIA complete their 3rd year. So at the end of 1982, INSCOM Army Intelligence terminated their formal involvement with Grill Flame. And the DIA, so Army Intelligence opened up a new program called Center Lane in 1983. A gentleman signed a memorandum allowing resources to be used to maintain support of Army Center Lane program. And this was a special access program. So this new memorandum that was signed reversed the Perry Memorandum of 1980 that cut the funding because they thought it was being double funded. So with the funding by the security and investigative activities, in 1983, the Army Remote Viewing Special Access Program, Center Lane, was decided that it should be continued and should be under the overall management of DIA. So in 1984, it was decided that the Center Lane SAP program ran by the Army should be more responsive to strategic and national level tasking. So in order to do this, they would need to merge their unit with the DIA's Grill Flame unit. So another merging happens. Very confusing and very detailed information here. So by 1985, the transfer from the Army's Center Lane project to DIA's Grill Flame program had been completed. and it became a DoD special access program, and the funding was restored because it was a pure intelligence and data collection program, no R&D stuff. And we get another name change of the program again, which is called Sunstreak. And the mission of Sunstreak was to undertake operational intelligence applications using an aspect of psychoenergetics known as remote viewing. Now, it also states in this document that not only the Soviets were involved, which is unproven. Like I stated earlier, there isn't actually any documented evidence that I can find that the Soviets were using psychoenergetics to collect intelligence data on foreign targets, but it's still referred to in these documents. So the program ran under Sunstreak until 81, and it was changed to Stargate by Del Graff, which I've had on my show. He changed the name out of his own words because he felt it described what they were doing in the unit better with the human potential aspect of what they were doing. So in 95, the program was to be transferred to the CIA from the DoD and DIA. So the CIA got their hands on it and pretty much said that no intelligence data had ever been collected from the program, and they shut it down, which is very interesting because the CIA had its hands in funding SRI from the very beginning in 73, and there were the CIA MK Ultra programs ran by Sidney Gottlieb also had 4 different sub-projects studying psychoenergetics, remote viewing, and psychic phenomena within those programs, right? So when the CIA got its hands on it, they said that no intelligence data had ever been collected from the program, and they shut it down, which is definitely not the case when you talk to these people that were officially in these programs, right? I just showed you guys the syndicate document of Pat Price and Ingo Swann remote viewing this top secret military base in West Virginia, and they're coming up with things that are unbelievable. They're doing wind rate, speed, altitude, where it's located, that it's an underground base, the surrounding area. So, I mean, that's a straight up big lie right there. So the remote viewers were, they basically shut down the program, and which is unbelievable to me because, again, these people were, it turned out to be very accurate drawings and descriptions of areas, altitudes, wind rates, very descriptive details that these remote viewers were giving on these targets. But again, remember that the CIA had its hands in this whole thing from the jump and was funding SRI International from 73 to 75. And then the Air Force jumped in 76 and started funding SRI. But the Air Force had their own small remote viewing unit with Del Graff, right? So the DIA and Army Intelligence also had a contract with SRI. NSA had its hands in the pot too. So, you know, what's going on here? That's the basis of this entire program, and what people continue to ask, like, why did they continue to shut this program down? Why did the CIA not want to continue with it? And there's only a few explanations. I mean, the remote viewers that I've had on my show will give you a different explanation than what I'm about to give you, but through my research and reading these documents and reading through the MK Ultra documents as well, it seems like that the CIA already had their own remote viewing program, and they didn't want to take on DIA, DoD ran special access program along with that when they already had their own program. So, and then Lynn Buchanan was talking to me about this remote influencing stuff. And, you know, that's a whole other topic, and which makes me think, well, the way that the program has progressed, it started out just finding missing planes and miscellaneous projects and doing other kinds of work, and then it turned into a data collection method on foreign targets. And then what that makes you think of is, well, what did it evolve into after it was shut down in 95? Now, all the official people from the program are going to tell you that nothing happened with it, that it was just dead in the water. But privately, they've pretty much said to me that they continue to do work for government organizations after they were out of the program. Now, unofficially, Lynn Buchanan talked about that in the Stargate Roundtable with Angela Ford and Del Graff, that it was a unofficial type of tasking, but came from the government in these three-letter organizations. So if they're going to remove viewers and people that were a part of this program when the program has been shut down, why would they not keep a program still active? They're doing something with it. Now, I can't claim to know what that is, but when you look at the MK Ultra documents and realize that some of these sub-projects were revolved around psychoenergetic work, remote viewing, and psychic abilities, and then you look at the traumatization that these MK Ultra victims went through, and the byproduct of the traumatization through those programs, could that be unlocking a psychic ability? That's what I find really interesting, because a lot of these remote viewers, especially Ingo Swann, talked about how he would have out-of-body experiences all the time whenever he was growing up because he was bullied severely. And you have these out-of-body experiences. And also through these documents, it talks about that these people from SRI already had the ability to remote view. See, a lot of the people that were brought into the Stargate remote viewing unit were trained on how to remote view. Not Ingo Swann, not Pat Price. They already had the natural ability to do it. So how did they get that natural ability? It seems like it came from an out-of-body experience, a near-death experience. That's why I think the out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences are very important. I actually want to do a study for a lot of the remote viewers and find out which of them had out-of-body or near-death experiences before they suddenly had this ability to be able to remote view. So that's the history of the government psychic spy, remote viewing, ESP, and telekinesis programs, directly from the official unclassified documents. The Stargate Project was not a portal to other dimensions. It had nothing to do with time travel, nothing to do with kids or children. Children were not experimented on. It was a secret operation by Army intelligence and DIA under a DoD umbrella, and only 20 people, only 20 adults were in total were ever involved in this program. Now I'm going to bring up the list here. Got to pop it open on this side. How's things going in the chat, guy? F Kitty, good to see you. The gray area also check into what happened on May 10th, 1994. Should have been attributing to Indian Stargate to this. And the no. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, the official story is that they did not find a use for it, and that it was no longer useful to the intelligence community. Okay, I'm going to pull up this list of the remote viewers that were officially part of the Stargate Project. Here we go. Project Stargate. This is the list of people that were involved in this program. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 people. 20 people. And from talking with the people within the program, they said that no more than 10 people were ever there at any given time. So how can all these people that's claimed to have been a part of this program actually been in the program? If your name is not on this list of people, you were never involved in this program. On this list, we got Dr. Paul Smith right here, which I've had on my show, Lynn Buchanan from 1984 to 1991. We got Dave Morehouse, Dr. David Morehouse, June 1988 to June 1990. We got Angela D., which her original name was Angela Delafiore, from June 1986 to June 1995. She was one of the only ones that stayed there until the program was completely shut down. Her and Robin D. And Del Graff is not on this list because Del Graff was the director of the program and he was not a remote viewer. So these are the list of the remote viewers that were officially in the program. Ed Dames down here. He wasn't in there for very long. January 1986 to 1988. Mel Riley, Joe McMoneagle, Ken Bell. So that Linda A., Tom M., Gabriel Pattengale, Bill Ray. So that's the list of the people. If your name's not on the list, you weren't in this program. You're just making stuff up. And you're trying to, and really what you're doing is stolen valor. If you were in this program, you would have a military record of you being in this program because it is a military program. It's not a civilian program. You just couldn't walk in off of the street and get into this program. You were recruited into this program from being in the military. So that is what it is. How's the chat going? It doesn't explain everything, gray area, but that's the only thing that we have to go off of. Anything else is suspect and speculation. Matthew, I suspect we'll find out the best way to reverse our brainwashing. I think we're living through it. Yes, sir. Wu Gai Fu, what's happening? Wu Gai Fu, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, so that is the history of the Stargate project and all the different name changes and all the different hands that it switched through. And it took me a lot of study and a lot of research to put that together. I don't think anybody else has ever put together a comprehensive version of exactly what happened. And, I felt that was a very important thing to do because it's so confusing. It gets into so many different aspects of changing hands, who was involved, who wasn't involved, who was funding it, who wasn't funding it. So hold on, let me try and pull up. See if we can throw up another document. See, I got sent all of these documents from a DoD officer. They're very difficult to find. You just can't scour the internet and find all these documents. Okay, this one is on remote influencing. David Morehouse's book references remote viewing being on par with being an artist, yoga shaman, Sophie dancer. Yeah, I'm actually going to have David Morehouse back on the show on Saturday. So be looking forward to that. Okay, here is the remote influence document written by Ed May. Okay, approved for release 2003, September 9th. So, Science and Applications International Corporation Cognitive Science Laboratory Memorandum, 12th of February 1994. Miss L. Faith and Dr. L. May. Subject Dolan's training technique. So Dr. Dolan emphasizes that the training experience and technique of operators are crucial for the success of remote influencing experiments. Below, we detail the training procedures as they are practiced in his laboratories. So this details how you can remote influence someone. And it's 14 steps. I showed this to Lynn Buchanan to verify what he was talking about and how Lynn Buchanan was asked by some people within the agency if he could explode a subject's heart, which the whole movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, is based off of Lynn Buchanan. The character in the movie is also named Lynn. So I sent this to him. He had never seen it before. Ed May was in the Stargate program. We just seen his name in that official Stargate list. And this details how you remote influence someone. How you can implant thoughts, ideas, beliefs into someone's head psychically. And Lynn Buchanan had never seen this document before, and neither had Dr. David Morehouse, and I sent it to both of them. Wu Gai Fu. They don't like to talk about the influencing. Well, that document isn't evidence of anything. It's actually evidence that it is possible to do it. There's 14 steps on how to do it. I think that it would be dang near impossible to actually prove it. I mean, Lynn Buchanan said that himself whenever he was trying to influence a foreign diplomat. He said that he didn't know if it was because of the messages and the thoughts and ideas that he was implanting into the foreign diplomat's head, or not, or if it was something else. So there's really no way to actually prove that it works, because this would normally be done on a target, and they would definitely not tell you that that would be the case and that they actually did that. But I think that it's highly possible that that's what the program actually evolved into, was some form of remote influencing program. So it went from just doing remote viewing on miscellaneous things, that then it turned into a collection, data collection program on foreign targets, and then it had to have turned into something else after that. So I think it's a high possibility that maybe it turned into a remote influencing program. And then also in the SRI documents that I have, it talks about remote perturbation as well. So being able to move targets that are not in your immediate vicinity with your mind. So then that brings into a whole other line of questions as well, like what is paranormal activity? Supposedly it's a spirit or a manifestation of something outside of your body, moving things around. I mean, that's what poltergeist activity is most of the time people refer to poltergeist like activity, banging around kitchen cabinets and opening doors and slamming doors and stuff like that. Well, what if it's not ghosts? What if it's not spirits of deceased humans? What if it's an alive human? Which I think is a very fascinating concept. Mercy Ali, good to see you. Thanks for being a member. Yes, thank Matthew for gifting you the Ryder Ranger membership. Thanks so much again, Matthew. Really appreciate you. So then, because remote perturbation is what they call it. And I asked Lynn Buchanan about this the last time that he was on the show, and we were talking about it face to face. And he was talking about, yes, you can 100% do it. And how remote viewing evolves, I think it keeps on evolving. And this is just pure speculation and pure theory. But what if it can evolve into something so far that you're actually able to manifest a physical, or something that can physically interact with the environment outside of your physical body? I mean, that's what a lot of the Native American shamans talk about, in like the ideas of the skinwalker, and the skinwalker transforming and morphing and taking on the appearance of other things. And the Native Americans talk about being in such a deep meditative state that they're actually able to manifest a physical presence outside of their physical body. I don't know, but it kind of makes sense as the next evolutionary step of being able to remote view. If you can move an object with your mind across distant space-time, then would that not mean that you are there in some sort of physical manner? I think that the next step of that would be to manifest some sort of physical entity outside of your physical body in order to manipulate reality and manipulate the environment, but not even be around that environment. It's really fascinating when you think of the implications of what remote viewing could do and what remote viewing could be. There's been so many studies on this, and I believe that it's possible. Absolutely. The military, the three-letter organizations would not have ran this program from 47, no, not 47, sorry, 78 to 95 without, sorry, I had 1947 in my head because I'm getting ready to do a show about 1947. So 1978 to 95 if it didn't work. That's another problem with the CIA shutting down this program and saying that there was never any intelligence data ever collected from the program. Well, if there was never any good intelligence data collected from the program, then why did you keep it running for so many years? Doesn't make any sense. If something doesn't work, then you don't continue to keep doing it and keep funding it. They had to have seen results from this program. If not, then it would have been shut down a few years after it started, which it kind of did in a way because it was transferred to different organizations and different agencies. It was being shuffled around a lot and then renamed, and previous programs shut down and then turned into a different program, but with the same people. Yeah, I agree with that a little bit, Amanda, but I mean, to do something for that amount of time and then say that nothing ever came out of it. I mean, you can just read through the documents and see that there were good things that came out of it. They got good intelligence information out of it. But the problem is that through talking with the people that were involved in the program, like Dr. David Morehouse, Dr. Paul Smith, Angela Ford, Lynn Buchanan, is that they never got any feedback on the things that they were reviewing. Very rarely did they get any kind of feedback. So they didn't really know if what they were viewing was accurate or not because DIA Army intelligence wasn't telling them. Which is another way to say that nothing of any substance ever came out of the program. Jay, it's a government program, so lots of name changes and compartmentalization with the side of poppycock for the masses. Yeah, it may be. Some people have, I think Lynn Buchanan says that the reason for the name changes was that somebody might have found out about the program and that the military and the three-letter organizations didn't want to be embarrassed that there were that they were using psychics to try and collect intelligence data for. So then they just switched the name to hide it under some sort of security blanket. Wu Gai Fu, that's a shame. No feedback. Yeah, they weren't getting hardly any feedback. All of them will pretty much tell you that. The gray area AIR were the ones who was tasked with doing the Stargate analysis. Are you talking about whenever it was supposed to be transferred to the CIA in 95? All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate everyone being here and all the members, and Matthew for gifting 5 Raised by Giants memberships. Really appreciate everyone here. And I'll be releasing a Ryder Rangers only member episode tomorrow, and then on Saturday I will be having back on the show Dr. David Morehouse to get some more insight into this the Stargate project, and he'll tell you how it is too. So check out my documentary JFKX on Amazon Prime. It's free on Tubi and is up internationally on Vimeo. Check those out. If you can't watch it and you're outside of the country, can't watch it on Amazon because it's not a worldwide release. It's only a United States release on Amazon. You can, if you're in Canada, you can watch it on Tubi. If you're outside of the United States, you can watch it on Vimeo. Just type in JFKX. The links to that are in the description. And I'll see you guys. Well, tomorrow will be the members only episode, and then Saturday at 6 p.m. EST back online with Dr. David Morehouse. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section of this video. Drop a comment, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. See you guys soon.